If you don't understand the script, you will struggle no matter how many messages you send. This isn't just a script. It's a system that gets you more book calls, more closed deals, and more opportunities for growth. Most setters fail not because they don't work hard enough, but because they freestyle. They don't have a real structure. They don't have a real process. They say random things. They don't control the conversation. And they lose leads. This script removes all of that and it gives you structure that actually works. The thing is, I don't want you copying this word for word like a robot, but I do want you to understand why each part exists. Because once you understand the structure, you can adapt it to get better results. And this is for warm leads, not cold leads. But in this video, I'm going to break down how to actually start conversations to get more replies, how to move someone from just being interested to actually booking the call, and how to qualify without being too pushy. You have to think about it this way. Your job as a DM setter is not to sell in the DMs. Your job is simply to control the conversation and get the right person to a call. So let's get into it and break it down step by step. I'm going to get into why it works and how to execute it properly. If you master this, understand you won't just book calls, but you're going to set yourself apart from the rest of your team and become the top setter. It's not when you master it, it's when you master it and you're actually able to adapt to it and make it personalized. Everything has to start with like the greeting and the opening and establishing the initial intent is what we want to call it. And that's just going to be, hey, John, it's Mikkel. I just want to know like what sparked your interest in wanting to look more into our PDF and our guide. Like, what are you kind of looking for? What sparked your interest for you to want to join our group? What are you kind of looking for? Hey, no, it's Mikkel here. I kind of want to know like what sparked your interest to want to look deeper into our trading strategy. What are you kind of looking for? And here we're getting that connection, that greeting, and then a little bit of their initial interest and their intent. Step 2 is about qualifying them, just doing a light qualification and then getting deeper into their actual intent. And that's going to be with these 2 questions. We're going to ask an experience question. So how's your current experience been when it comes to day trading and actually trying to find a strategy that works? How's that been so far? So how's your current experience been in the gym? Are you currently working out or doing anything to lose weight or gain weight, or what are you kind of doing when it comes to that? And this next question, we're asking it so we can understand if the prospect is problem aware or not. Because the higher up on the scale they are, more problem aware they are of their actual problems and what they need help with, more commitment that they're going to have to actually want to hop on a call and then make a decision to invest in themselves to get better results. If they know there's a problem or there's something that's holding them back from getting results that they know they can be achieving, and they know that, then most people take action to actually solve those problems. And you kind of just touch a little deeper into it. And what have you seen that you might need a little bit more help when it comes to losing weight, when it comes to your current trading strategy, when it comes to your current sales process? Like I said, this is going to give us more insight into somebody who is actually serious and they know that they have problems. That person who knows they have problems but doesn't know what they need help with might be somebody who's going to the gym, but they're not losing weight or they're not seeing progress. They're going to the gym, they're doing the actions, but they don't actually know what they need help with specifically to lose that weight. And that's why they need an expert. So that person is problem aware and a person that you could get booked in on a call. However, I wouldn't book somebody on a call and you just don't have any problems from them. They feel like they're doing everything. Everything's perfect. If you ask somebody, what do you feel like you need help with when it comes to your current, trading strategy? And they're like, I really don't need help. It's just I'm not profitable, right? That wouldn't make sense because if they didn't need help, they would most likely be profitable. So in order for us to actually help them become profitable, we need to know what they need help with. So you guys have to figure out a way that you guys can actually go deeper and probe into their current and past experiences and what they're actually doing to help their current problem. Step 3 is about going deeper into their experience and getting more pain. So basically these questions, we want to more so not dive in on the surface level, but what they're actually doing so they can get better results. So, okay, cool. Like, I know you're going to the gym, but like, have you ever had a trainer before? Like, would this be your first time looking into something like that? Okay, and I do have a quick question. Like, have you gotten any type of coaching or mentorship or training, or like, would this be your first time looking into something like this? If they say yes, you need to probe in deeper into what's not working, not necessarily what's working, but what's not working, probe deeper into what's not working and figure out why. And then if this is their first time, you just need to quickly acknowledge that no worries, like we can help you get started up and everything from there. But like, tell me, what do you currently do for work now? You don't want to just say, what do you do for work now? You got to figure out a way to bridge the conversation, make it more conversational and actually flow, right? You don't want to just jump into all the questions that we have and just copy and paste it because it wouldn't sound like a natural conversation. So like I said, you just dive into the next question and that's, okay, cool. What are you currently doing for work now? And what this is depending on the offer, it's a qualification question. If it's B2B, I most likely wouldn't say that. But for B2C, when we're, trying to figure out financial qualification, if somebody has a willingness to invest, if they're making any type of money, okay, cool. And what are you currently doing for work? That way you can understand their willingness. If they work in a job, if they potentially have some money put aside, saved up for savings, this is something that would relatively even make sense. Or if they're just working a part-time job and something on the side where they're not making so much money that they probably don't have that much to invest in. What you're doing is you're just touching on the qualification. When we dive into step 4, we're going deeper into the qualification, and we're also creating a gap. When it comes to high ticket sales, gap creation is going to be one of the biggest things that you actually focus on. And all that is how can you create the biggest gap possible from where my prospect currently is to where they actually want to go? Because if you can create that gap and it's big enough and you can put all their problems into one basket and then you can show them how they have this huge gap, and they need a lot of help to actually get there, then it's going to make sense for them to actually want to make that change and invest in themselves later down the line. So when it comes to gap identification and gap creation, we have specific module on this. That's something you should focus on in your training, is how can I create the biggest gap possible? So with these 2 questions, it's goals and aspirations. Like I said, we're getting 2 things, and that's how much money they're currently making, and then the gap, where they are versus where they want to go. So it just goes like this. Let's just say in an ideal world, we're able to help you get you the skill set you need when it comes to trading, get you the one-on-one coaching, and you're able to become profitable. Where do you want to be at in about 3 to 6 months? Where you want to be at in terms of the results from trading and becoming profitable. And then you just say, okay, and how close are you to hitting that now? Or how far away are you from actually hitting that goal? And maybe when you ask the question, they said they wanted to be making 10K. And then when you ask the how close are you to hitting that now question, and then they say I'm about $6,000 to $7,000 away from that. So if you can expand on that, try to expand on their actual, how much they want to be making, try to create the bigger gap, right? Try to expand the gap. Goes a little bit more into gap creation, which we're going to get into. For now, let's just say you got something where they're like, I want to make 10K. And then they say I'm about 7,000 away from that. Probably qualify, right? And probably a good fit for this solution. And that's going to take us into step number 5. And that's just getting the financial qualification part. Step 5 is just okay, cool. And let's say there was an actual way to help you acquire those skills that we just mentioned, help you become profitable and go from $3,000 to $10,000. Would you be open to looking more into that? So when you're actually asking these questions, you will know if your prospect is not qualified from these questions that we went through. These few questions right here would give you a base understanding of if your prospect is qualified or not. So if your prospect is not qualified, then you just want to add this question to the end of this sentence. If they are qualified and you already know that, then you just say, would you be open to looking more into that? And you add this sentence to the end of this sentence. And the reason why we're doing that is because if they're not qualified, we must get the willingness to invest, right? If we don't feel they're qualified, we need to know that at least if we do hop on the call and they see a path for their solution, everything makes sense, they would be willing to invest in themselves, right? Or they have the willingness, they would be willing to invest. If that works out and all of that checks out, then you can set up the call with the closer. If you're asking a qualified prospect, would you be open to looking more into that? And they're like, yeah, why not? Then you can set up the call with the closer. So setting up the call with the closer is, once again, just connecting their problems to the actual call. If we can connect their problems and the gap to the call, then they're going to want to show up. They're going to want to fix this problem. And, when it comes down to it, they're going to want to actually invest in themselves and change. And honestly, on everything you actually shared, I do think there's a good chance of a good possibility we can help. Or you can just say, I think there's a possibility we can help, or I feel like we can help. And then you just want to enter goal. So I think we can help you get from $3,000 to $7,000 and help you become a profitable trader with the one-on-one coaching and the mentorship and stuff like that. What I'll do is I'll connect you with Mikkel. He'll dive deeper into currently at when it comes to day trading versus where you actually want to go. We analyze your situation. And if it's something that we really do feel like we can genuinely help you with, we'll walk you through our program and the next steps and how everything works. Would that be fine? Would that be okay? You can just close it off just like that. Once I say yes, I'd be open to that. All you want to do is say, okay, you can book here, drop the form, drop the link where they can book. And then you just say, let me know what time you select. That way I can check the calendar, double check everything confirms and aligns. And what this is doing is just pushing a little bit more urgency for them to actually go out there and book the appointment and then respond back to you with the time that they booked so you can finish the process. So when they do respond with the time, you just want to say, okay, are you sure that you can make that time? Typically, we don't do reschedules when our calendar says packed out. And this is reconfirming their commitment that they can make the time that they selected. If they're like, I'm not sure, then try to get them to reschedule for a time where they're actually sure. And then if they're like, yes, I'm sure I can make this time, the last and final message before going into the booking and follow-up confirmation and stuff is you just want to say, okay, sweet, we got you all set up for tomorrow at 6 o'clock. What I'll do is I'll send you a message later tonight to make sure tomorrow at 6 still works, okay? And then you go into the follow-up confirmation SOP process. Because if you're booking qualified appointments, you want those qualified appointments to show up so you can close more deals. And that's what we cover in the booking confirmation SOP.